Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to a very stormy episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is Michelle, and who's here with me?
Oh, it's JD, and yes, it's a stormy one. It's raining,
It's
raining, raining.
JD. It's always
Yeah,
JD. It's not always storming.
it's always JD, and then way too much stuff after I say my name.
That's what you do.
Yeah,
That's
that's
your
always
thing.
kind of my thing.
It's your
Just
calling card.
blathering on about nothing. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah, that's why we have a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hello everybody. Ooh, that was a lot of
I'm,
nice
I'm,
lightning.
I'm
Oh, and
suddenly
lots of
not. Oh,
thunder.
I just heard the thunder through your microphone, Michelle.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
That was a good one. You guys, I am so happy when it's storming. I am the happiest when it is a huge raining thunderstorm or else a blizzard. Give me extreme elements. I
Yeah.
crave a tornado. I crave one.
I mean, I like to observe them. I don't want one to tear through my living space. That would be real shitty.
Yeah,
But
I got too
yeah,
much shit,
I
but
do
I would like
enjoy
to see one.
weather. Weather
Yeah,
is pretty
weather's
rad.
nice. Weather's
So that's
pretty
our
good.
podcast. This is We Watch the Weather. As
Yeah.
we just get together and talk about what the weather's doing. Sometimes it's very, very boring because the weather is very, very boring. No, that's not. This is We Watch Shudder. What we do is in the name. We watch a lot of movies on Shudder. Sometimes we watch movies somewhere else. There's that thunder again. Uh, if this is your first time tuning in, I often wonder if this is a good way for people to start or not. I think any place is honestly a good place to start. This is our monthly Michelle in review. For those of you not familiar with why we do this, it's because you're about to hear Michelle talk about how much stuff she watched this month, and she's gonna tell you they were quote unquote rookie numbers.
Yep.
And you're gonna be
Stand
like,
by it.
who the fuck are you?
I'm
I'm
disappointed.
she's disappointed and anyway, we're here to talk about all the stuff that Michelle has seen and done this month. We break this up into four categories. There's the new stuff, which is anything the last 2 years. I keep forgetting.
So we have
No,
the
it's new stuff
series.
is
Well, first we have the series that I watched, which is usually a series of
oh.
horror, but I picked something
Okay.
a
Oh,
little.
right.
Oh,
When you
yep.
say, see, when you say series, I think like a TV series,
Well,
but you
this
mean
one
the
kind of was.
franchise that you watched.
We'll talk about it, but yes, usually it'd be a
Oh, okay.
franchise. But this one, I called
Sweet.
it series for a reason. Then we've got new
Sorry
shit,
for
which is
interrupting.
recent horror. Anything from COVID and beyond is what we deemed recent. The before
Right.
times and the after
The
times.
after times.
Then we've got old shit, which is older horror, anything pre-COVID. We have non-horror because I am just a general movie slash TV fan, and I always have some things on the list. I make sure that I have a few things in each category. The recent horror was looking a little light, so I had to go and watch a few things. Today to make up for that. And then I have news because I subscribe to all the newsletters and I go on social media pretty much only to keep in touch with movies as well as video game news. So anything horror related that could fall in that category. I got pretty like a couple cool things on that list, and then we end it with literature, which is the most pretentious way of just saying anything I've read, which this month
Yeah.
included comic books. So don't think I'm over here like getting through whole novels. Sometimes I am. Sometimes I like to enjoy some medical books.
Sometimes.
Sometimes I like some Oliver Sacks, some Mary Roach, some Cy Montgomery. All three of those were people that my friend Jess Hawks got me into. Sometimes I like to be a smart person, but no, this was just gory comic books in June. So, oh, and then my
Yeah.
totals. Last month, JD suggested I keep a spreadsheet with my watch history, mostly because I watch so much that I've gotten very tired of watching something and then realizing halfway through that I've seen it, like The Void, which I swear to God, I've never seen this. And now I'm a huge Steven Kostansky fan, so now I know. But at the time, I was like, I've watched that movie 3 times because I kept forgetting each time. So I was keeping a spreadsheet and he said that I should just put all my media on there. And this is where my numbers seem disappointing. I aim to get through 100 movies. Yes, JD, you have a question?
No, I just wanted to pop in and say to our listeners again, if this is the first time you're here for a Michelle in review, what you are about to hear is the entire reason this episode exists, and she's going to tell you it's a failure.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Michelle.
I think the problem is I started this spreadsheet in Spooktober and my titles hit like 130 and that seemed like a low number and I have never gotten even close.
130.
I watch a lot of movies in Spooktober. I avidly celebrate. But I haven't even come close to that number, so now everything else seems very, very awful. Part of it is so I did have two books. One of those was Preacher, though, which was 6 books. It's the entire comic series about Preacher, which we'll talk about more in literature, and I'm trying to justify my numbers. I had 6 TV shows slash miniseries, which was basically anything that was multiple episodes, whether it was a documentary series that was 3 episodes or more, or a TV show, usually just one season. I don't watch a lot of TV. So I had 6 things under that. So really that could be like 40 hours of content. So I guess I'm feeling a little bit better about my numbers. And then just 56 movies. I had a lot of work to do. I couldn't multitask.
56. She watched 56 feature films in the
Yeah.
month of June, and she considers that rookie numbers.
Yeah.
I am
For
never
me,
not.
it is.
Guys, I have like 3 extra things I want to talk about and that I will mention in this episode. That's it. Like 3.
Well,
3.
she'll
Well,
be
and then
getting to it.
we're gonna do the whole in a violent nature thing at the end, and that I've
Yeah.
got some things to say there, and I know Michelle does too. But
I
yes,
have a few.
Michelle, let's start with the
Series.
franchise slash series, whatever you want to call it. What was it? I don't
Yes.
even know this month.
Yeah,
Surprise me.
I don't think you've seen it. I did hint that I would be talking about it in the last Michelle in review, but I went back and I rewatched my favorite anime, Serial Experiments Lane, and I started it at the end of May, but I really wanted it's only 13 episodes, like 20 minutes each, and I really just wanted to take my time, watch an episode, go dive into what it was trying to say. And it's oh man, this anime, how do I talk about it? So it's from the late 90s, I believe 98, 99. It's when the internet was fresh and new, and there were a lot of animes that came out about how scary the internet was, essentially. And Serial Experiments Lane really just like, ooh, it got under my skin, and I still love it. I would say if I was trying to sum it up, the question that this anime tries to answer is, does God live in the internet? And can your subconscious live in the internet? And what would happen if you tried to do that? And it is about a young girl named Lane, early high school years, probably like 14-ish. And it is her delving into the internet called The Wired in this anime because it is slightly different, but obviously inspired by the internet. There is a YouTube channel called Sock Sensei that I stumbled across that has an hour and a half explanation of what the fuck this show is talking about. And he explains so much more than I have ever noticed, because he said he had done collections of different forum discussions, and people are still analyzing this 25 years later. So his video actually came out 5 months ago, and I happened to find it, I think, yesterday, because I happened to be rewatching Lane. So Lane is so good. Serial Experiments Lane. It is the right amount of sci-fi horror and uncomfortableness, and it is exactly what I want in my anime. I just want to be creeped out and dazzled. And Serial Experiments Lane, it just feels like a comforting, terrifying experience every time I go back to it.
I do remember you now bringing this up in the last review episode, and I believe I already asked this question, but just to be sure, is it serial experiments, like a series of experiments, or are they like
Like
doing
Reese's
tests
Pieces.
on cornflakes?
It is
Oh,
SERIAL experiments
well, I don't care now.
LAIN. I know, I'm sorry.
I wanna write a show about serial experiments.
There's
Maybe I'll
some
start a YouTube channel. Just call it Serial Experiments.
I would absolutely be a part of that. Now I'm craving cereal. So thanks for that.
Oh,
I could
so
go
am
for
I.
some
I've got some
cereal.
honey bunches of oats out in the
Me
kitchen that I'm
too.
gonna murder a bowl of those suckers when we're done here for
Yeah.
sure.
If we lose internet connection, again, then I will absolutely be pouring myself a bowl of cereal and not coming
Michelle, if
back.
this connection goes down, I'm just gonna keep talking until you come back. I don't care if this episode ends up being a day and a half long. We're gonna finish this motherfucker.
You know what? Sure. Okay. Well, that's my series. Usually I do a horror franchise. Sometimes I watch Saw 3 times in a month. But thank God it wasn't that. It was a comforting anime that a few people, I wouldn't say few people know about. Lots of people know about it, but a lot of the people I chat to usually have not heard about it before me talking about it. And God, I love it. It's so good. Go buy it. It's on like all the places to buy digitally for like $10. So go do that. Okay.
It's cool.
On to recent horror.
Oh,
Recent horror.
can I just quickly talk about a
Yeah.
series that I watched?
Was it the Great British Bake Off or whatever that baking show
No,
was last time?
no, but I'm 5 episodes into the brand new season of MasterChef Generations with Gordon Ramsay.
Nice.
It's pretty dope. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, is that actually? I was right. That was a
That's
cooking
it.
show.
That's all I wanted to say. Yeah, yeah. MasterChef.
uh,
It's MasterChef Generations. They've got boomers and Gen Xers and millennials and Gen Zers,
yeah. I keep getting
and they're all
commercials for it because
competing against each other
I've been watching a lot of
to see
Tubi.
who. Yeah,
Tubi thinks
Tubi's
I
pretty
want to do
good.
that. Yeah. So
All right,
recent
so
horror. Recent horror.
recent
Uh,
horror.
in a Violent Nature, we will postpone until the end. Just watched it last night. JD and I do not agree on that movie.
Do you
So
wanna do the spoiler free part right now, just for the fun of
sure.
it? All
Uh
right, go ahead. Tell me your spoiler free thoughts on In a Violent Nature, Michelle. Everybody knows what this movie is about at this point. We don't need a plot summary.
yeah, no, it was very unique. It was a half hour too long, but at the same time I enjoyed it. I think if they had made it an hour long, I would have put it in like a contender for best of the year. I like something unique. I like some bloody kills. It gave me both of those. It was oddly relaxing. So yeah, I don't know what rating I would give it. Like as is 3 out of 5, but potential to be 5 out of 5. It's way too fucking long.
All right, so do you want to know my spoiler free thoughts? You already know my
I
spoiler
already
free
know him.
thoughts,
I think these
Michelle.
people need to know him. Yep.
My look, guys, my spoiler free thoughts are and again, I fully recognize I'm in the minority here, but I have rarely been so bored by a movie in my life. I to the extent that a lot of movies I see and I don't enjoy them, they're not for me, but I can at least understand what other people might be getting out of them. I don't understand how this didn't bore everyone who saw it. Uh, I'm just also I have a lot to say about the way this movie was marketed and this. Oh, it
Agreed.
was a movie told from the killer's perspective.
Yeah.
Hooey, it's bullshit. But we'll talk about that when we get there. Again, I know I'm very much in the minority, but I did enjoy some of the kills, but they also pissed me off so much because they were these cool kills in the middle of this excruciatingly boring film for me. One Skull.
Okay.
I
Great
don't
movie.
get it. Of all the of all the things, like, this is, I even understand what people probably get out of a film like Skinamarink. This one, you know, whatever. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I got some specific comments, but we'll circle back to it because I don't want to accidentally
Right
get
on.
into spoiler territory.
After Times, recent movies. Michelle, have at it.
That's it. No, I'm kidding. In a Violent Nature, I do only have one more under recent horror. I spent a lot of time doing more older horror. I just was in the mood for the new stuff too much. But one that hit Peacock and that I had been waiting to be available for streaming on one of the many, many sites I subscribe to, Lisa Frankenstein. Finally got to check that one out. Um, Here's what I will say about Lisa Frankenstein. I really enjoyed it. I think there were some flaws in it. It kind of introduced some ideas and then dropped them. But it was director Zelda Williams' first movie. And you know what? For this being the very first one, I can't really, or at least like, I think the very first full length one. But I can't really say anything negative for this being like a first time attempt. It was really good. And overall I enjoyed it. I don't know why I'm making it sound like I didn't enjoy it. I did enjoy it. I like the crazy super bright 80s vibe that it had. I thought it was really funny. I enjoyed Catherine Newton so much. But at the same time, my first exposure to her was Paranormal Activity, and I didn't like her character. And it has just tainted my opinion of her every time I see her. I just think of that very first experience, but yet I like her in so much stuff, like Lisa Frankenstein or Detective Pikachu or many, many things. But those are the two that are coming to mind because Detective Pikachu sequel comes out this month, I think. So yeah, Lisa Frankenstein is a really fun, good time. I think there's some issues with the story, but fuck it. I don't care. It was fun. It was bright. It was obnoxious.
I know you and I talked about it, but I'm not sure if we've talked about it on the episode or on the show, so I'll do it again just to be sure. Do you have any idea how far into the life of this film it was before it dawned on me that it was like a smashing together of Frankenstein with Lisa Frank?
Yes, because we talked about that a couple episodes
Yeah.
ago. Yep.
Okay, I wasn't sure if we had talked about it on the
Yeah.
show or not, so I wanted to make sure I was
Oh wait.
thoroughly
I'm
shamed.
like 90% sure it was on the show, but now I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, it
Maybe
is
I'm the
now.
idiot.
We know it is now
Okay,
for
good.
sure. That's all
Good.
right. Just one thing from the recent times that I want to talk about, guys. I did finally see the new Rose Glass film, Love Lies Bleeding. I don't know if I would even call it horror adjacent. I would say it's a movie that definitely at times uses some of the trappings and techniques of a horror film. It is more of a psychological thriller type thing. It's very different from Rose Glass's debut, Saint Maud, which of course everybody at this point knows is one of my favorite films of the last 10 years. It's so goddamn good. I loved this movie. Actually had a chat with our buddy Brendan from over in Ireland about the film. And there's a moment in this. This is one of those films where there's one moment in particular where you're either gonna go with it or it's gonna completely lose you. And I went with it. I loved the film. I thought it was a lot of fun is not the right way. It's basically a movie about how love can destroy people, but I really, really, really enjoyed it, and I really hope more people get a chance to see it. I strongly recommend you check it out. I would give that movie 5 skulls.
Ooh, okay, so that's gonna be on your list for best of 2024, I imagine.
Oh, very likely, very
Yeah.
likely. Yes, there would have to be a lot of stuff between now and then for that to not make it.
I will make a physical note that you have stated that because I know when December comes around and you're starting to make that list, you're gonna be like, I don't remember any movies I saw. Because I had to remind you right before this one that you had seen that movie.
Yeah, and like 2 days after I saw the coffee table, I completely forgot I had seen the
Yep.
coffee table. Guys,
Yeah.
my
You
brain
need
is in
spreadsheets.
trouble.
You need spreadsheets.
I need
Yeah,
I need a memory card or something.
well, that too.
Anyway,
Put your spreadsheets.
all right then, Michelle.
Yeah, older
The
horror.
before times. The
Older
before
horror.
times.
Okay, so we've got four things. One of them is such oh, yep, JD. Oh, nope, he picked it up and then put it down. Nope, he's changed his mind about talking. Okay. So four things. The first
Even
one,
when I don't interrupt you, I interrupt you.
and then you actually interrupted. Oh my
I mean,
God.
I had to at
I
that
know.
point. Come on.
Okay, so four movies. The first one is more of just a side note. So Alive from 1993. I had seen this when I was a child, a wee little tot, and I remember being traumatized by it. I was also eating something that my grandma had cooked that I think was like pot roast or something, and I was eating this while watching Alive. If you're not familiar with Alive, it's it's the true story made into a fictional movie of people who crashed in the Andes Mountains. It was an entire rugby team, and then they had to eat each other, or not eat each other. They have to eat dead people in order to survive, hence the name Alive. There was a movie that came out on Netflix called Society of the Snow. I think that came out in like January or February. That was, oh, harrowing. It was a modern retelling of this story again. And goddamn, it is. There's a plane crash that I just cannot get out of my head. Or like, obviously, the plane crashes. We know that it's based on a true story. But the way that they portray it in Society of the Snow is so fucking upsetting. And then I had to go read a lot about what happened because I like to be depressed. Make me feel something, please. I'm on antidepressants and I have to go to extreme lengths in order to crack through that numb shell. So therefore I'm just like watching videos of people dying. There's a lady who had her arm crushed in a factory that has haunted my dreams since like last year. If you've ever seen a lady just like pancake her arm on accident and then go into complete shock, crazy. People who get stuck in the little spinny thingies and then they just become spaghetti. Anyway, what was I talking about? So, Society of the Snow. I went back and rewatched Alive 1993, which what I was trying to say is that my grandma had made pot roast or something while I was watching this. And keep in mind, it came out in 1993. I was a very young child, eating pot roast, and I could never eat whatever that meat was ever again because I had it associated with what I imagined the taste of frozen human bodies would taste like. And so decided to go rewatch it as an adult. My grandma's been dead for many, many years. Her pot roast wasn't gonna come back and haunt me. I thought maybe I could rewrite these memories. And here's what all of this long-winded explanation. I just had to say it. This is the most hilarious whitewashing I have ever seen in a movie in my life. Okay, so it's 1993 that this comes out. It is about a real life story of an entire rugby team from Uruguay that crashes in the Andes. All the supporting characters who should look like they're from Uruguay are probably pretty accurate. And now that I've seen Society of the Snow, some of those characters look like the characters played in the newer movie, so I feel pretty confident that they tried to match them up. But then they're like, you know who needs to star in this fucking movie about Uruguayan rugby team? Ethan Hawke and Josh Hamilton. Ethan Hawke is gonna play Nando Parado, and Josh Hamilton is Roberto Canessa. You guys, they're two of the whitest people in Hollywood. And they're like, this is what they and I think it's even more atrocious because a lot of the other characters, like you have an actor named Vincent playing somebody named Antonio. That sounds pretty accurate. But goddamn, the 90s were a wild, wild time. Oh, and then seen very briefly, there's a guy who pops in at the beginning to tell you that the story is about to begin, and then at the end, and he's one of the guys who survived the plane crash, played by fucking John Malkovich. Are you kidding me? Why are these the three leaders of a Uruguayan rugby team? I just the movie was good aside from that, but it looked like they were foreign exchange students who shouldn't have been on that plane, and it was very bizarre. And I'm so glad in 2024 we make a better effort not just give roles to Ethan Hawke and Josh Hamilton, both of whom I love. I love Ethan Hawke. He's one of my favorite horror movie icons. Josh Hamilton is in one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, Dark Skies. It's the one that's like my go-to for it scares the shit out of me. But they should not have been on that plane. Rant over.
Oh my God! First of all, Michelle, I actually have never seen Alive or Society of the Snow, and so
Ooh.
I didn't know. But frankly, it doesn't surprise me about the whitewashing in 1993.
No, of
I
course
can
not.
tell
It's
you
not
this much.
surprising.
I can tell you this much. I do remember when that movie came out, and it wasn't until literally right now that I knew it was about people from Uruguay. So their whitewashing was successful. I'll tell you that much. I thought for sure it was some sort of European team. Shows you what
No.
I know. What else did you watch from the before times, Michelle?
Yes. Okay, one movie that I threw on my list because I thought you would like it if you haven't seen it before. And that is Wakewood from 2009. Are you familiar with Wakewood?
No. You talk
Okay.
about it. I'm going to go find out about it.
Sweet. Okay, so this is a movie that is folksy horror lore, which I know that JD likes. There's some witchiness going on. It's very similar to Pet Cemetery in that some parents wish that their child would come back, and then she does, but something's not right. And I really really enjoyed it. I thought despite being from 2009, it held up. The effects were fine because they used actual physical effects and didn't try to do anything crazy CGI, which I fucking hate. And I think that it will always hold up better if I'm like, yeah, I know I'm just looking at good makeup. But I don't mind that, and I was hooked. I wanted to see how bad things got, how they would remedy it. Could they remedy the situation? I really like when people fuck with witchcraft in bad ways and get fucked. So Wakewood, great movie.
Awesome. It's already on my to be watch list.
Hell
So
yeah.
I will check that one out. I do like the witchy stuff. It's
Exactly.
so I'll give it. It's
Yeah.
and not this the craft hot topic witchy.
I like
Give me
both of
that
those.
bog witch. Give me
Oh
that
man.
swamp witch.
The
That
Craft
rotten
though,
face bog witch. Oh.
the Craft was one of my sexual awakenings. That's a great movie.
Oh well, that's more than I needed to know, but I'm glad for
Well,
you that it
it's
happened.
great.
Can we
Great
just go
movie.
on to talking about other movies you saw and stop talking
Yeah.
about your sexual awakening? That'd be great.
Oh, sorry. I meant to say my sexual awakening was during
Can
1993's
we
Alive.
stop talking about your sexual awakening, please,
But
Michelle,
Alive
and
was
just
so
talk about
good. Okay.
horror movies? Oh
Okay.
my god.
So Cosmopolis from 2012. This one I truly don't know if you know, JD. Do you know
I know
Cosmopolis
of it.
starring? Okay. So it stars Robert Pattinson, written and directed by David Cronenberg, which is why I wasn't sure if it would be one on your radar. JD's a big Cronenberg fan. I am not as big of a Cronenberg fan, but I am putting this on my list as one of the ones that I really enjoyed the most from him. I am definitely in the minority on this. People did not seem to like this when I went to read their takes after finishing it. It is very deep and pretentious, but I feel like I understood it despite that. And there's definitely a surface level story of a billionaire who wants to feel something but can't connect with his fellow human beings. And that was so very clear. I guess it is based on a book, if I'm remembering correctly, and that I don't remember what people said about the book because I watched it early in the month and I probably should have made a note, but I didn't. It's very weird. It takes place like 90% in a limo. Robert Pattinson is just this rich guy driving through a dystopian landscape. I love me a good dystopian landscape. I want anything where I can see that the world was ruined by humans and now this is how they live. So Cosmopolis, I know it's going to be too pretentious for a lot of people. I usually would think it was too pretentious, but I actually got a lot of the comedy that came out of this. I really love the scenery that they do. Robert Pattinson can like do no wrong. I don't even give a fuck about Twilight. He's great in everything. He's my new Batman. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought it would, and it kind of won me back a little bit for Cronenberg films.
Sweet. Yeah, it is a Cronenberg film that I have not seen. I'm only familiar with it by name and reputation, but I don't know. It's probably going to stay that way for a while, frankly.
Yeah, I don't think you'd like it. I really don't.
Okay, fair.
So,
I look. I just have something about Robert Pattinson. Just I don't know. It's not
whoa.
even that I think he's not interesting or not good. Rather, I don't know. There's some Leonardo DiCaprio did the same thing. I never understood the
Wow.
hype. Anyway,
That's
it's
the
that's
most
not
controversial
important.
thing I've ever heard. How dare you? Okay,
I
and then the
know.
last thing on my older horror list, I sent JD my thoughts while I was watching this. So those of you who are new to the podcast might not know about the Squelch Files. The Squelch Files
Woohoo!
are my pride and joy. I collect squelching subtitles, and I love saying that sentence to people, and then they go, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Because then I get to explain. Any movie or TV show that has squelch, squelches, squelched, or squelching as a subtitle in it, I will collect that image and I will add it to our library on our website. I think currently we're at like 1,330 of them, but I did collect another 100 that I am just going to be slowly releasing, so that I don't have to go through these binges. And if you're ever wondering, like, hey, Michelle, I know you're bipolar. Are you going through a manic or depressive episode? Just ask me how many squelches I have collected recently, and that will tell you that yes, I am in one of those swings. Because usually I'm like, I become obsessed with like I have to collect them all, and that's what I put my energy into. And then I'm sad afterwards because I didn't get through my full list. I built myself a database to track them. It's color coded. It's an insane hobby. Anyway, sometimes it's really fun when I'm watching a movie with friends and a squelch comes up because we will start screaming, and it's just a silly thing that I love that is like very unique. Or like people will message me and be like, "Hey, I was just watching something and I thought you should know that there was a squelch." I'm like, "Where? What timestamp? I don't have that one in the collection. I will go find it." And I love that so much. Anyway, sometimes it becomes a bit of a burden, and in the case of this next movie, I was like, I am on my time off right now. I should not be working, which is how I feel about the squelches. I'm not getting paid. If anything, I'm probably losing money because I could be doing something very productive, but I have 1,300 of them. I could have learned another language. But instead, I collected squelches. And that doesn't even count like the time it took to like track down which movies and shows had squelches. Anyway, it's a whole thing. But I was watching this movie that is an anthology. It is called The Theater Bazaar from 2011. And I love me a good anthology because here's the thing, if there's one story I don't like, there's other stories that I might. And that was the case with this one. There was one that I didn't really care for, but all the others were pretty good. It's also nice and weird, as the name would imply. It's kind of like a wacky horror where it's not trying to be scary, it's just trying to be weird, and I love that. Here's my issue. It had 33 squelches in it. 33. Every time I had to, it took me like 2 hours to get through this hour and a half movie because I had to keep pausing and then getting a screenshot of the squelch, and then I would resume and there would be another squelch and I'd have to pause, and I'm like, I am just trying to enjoy this movie. So eventually I got to the point where I would just pause long enough to write down the timestamp and come back, and I collected them all afterwards. I got 33, which is the most I have ever seen in a movie by far, and I feel very confident that I missed some, and now I'm going to have to go back and watch this fucking movie a second time. I really enjoyed it, but I'm very mad that I have to watch it a second time. It's going to be worth it watching just for one subtitle that I did send to JD that says penis squelching. And it's for very horrifying reasons. So, great movie. Pretty mad that it made me work so hard. Pretty happy that it holds the record for most squelches, and it's not even a contest. I think the one before that might have been. No, I think Mad God had gotten beat out, but that was definitely the most squelches in a small amount of time because Mad God has 16 total squelches and 14 of them take place within the span of 2 minutes, to the point where I lost track of how many squelches I had collected and I had to just start over because that was intense. But Theater Bazaar, great movie, very squelchy, lots of eye trauma.
I'm familiar again with that one. I have not seen it myself, but I would never have expected that kind of squelch domination
Ooh,
from a
there's a
film.
lot.
I may have to watch it now just on the fact of 33 squelches
Yeah.
alone.
And it doesn't start off squelchy. It doesn't start off to that extent. It amps up. The I think the last story that it has had the most squelches and really carried it. But even before that, I was like, this is a lot of squelches to find randomly in the wild. And yeah, I found 33, but I have a feeling I missed some because at a certain point I was just like, come on, just it's probably like 35. And now, oh my God, here's what's going to happen. I just had to go recollect a squelch because sometimes when I collect them, the screen capture software that I use captures it just like a millisecond after the subtitle. And then I have a different subtitle or the subtitle's missing. And that just happened with a movie that had 16 squelches in it. No, 14 squelches in it. And then I had to go track down that one squelch that was in the middle of the movie and compare it to the ones I already had to make sure that I was getting the new squelch I had to replace. And that was very frustrating. And my life's hard. And I don't know why I do this to myself. Yes, I do. Mental illness. Well, non
Well,
horror?
Theater Bazaar is on my to be watch list now
It's a good
as
movie,
well.
but
So,
god damn, so squelchy.
wow, yeah, we can go on to non horror. I've got a couple of
Okay.
things to talk about in here.
In non horror, not in older horror.
Yeah, in non
Okay.
horror.
Sounds good. So, first one, The Power of Film from 2024 came out on HBO. It was a miniseries. I believe it was 4 episodes, and it is a guy who is a professor of film shit. I don't know his exact title. He does movies and he teaches them good. His name's Howard Suber, and he goes through why so many classic movies work. And obviously, as a movie fan, I've watched a lot of these types of documentaries. I'm very interested in what makes a film work or not work, or where is it disjointed. I watched a very deep analysis of the Shrek soundtrack and why it's so successful by using the same chords over and over again. So I love that. I love seeing the actual analysis of this stuff. I would love to take a class from Howard Stuber. I understood so much of what he was saying. He went into some older psychology experiments and things like that. Here's one that I really loved. I can't remember the name of the actor, but there was a guy who asked an actor to just film his face with no emotion. And so the guy did that. So he's just staring forward at the camera. That's it. And then this guy who was doing the experiment took that footage of the man and put him it was that clip, and then he showed him in front of a bowl of soup. He had that guy, and then in front of a dead child in a coffin, and then that guy in front of a woman just laying on a bed. And everybody said, "Oh wow, look at the portrayal of emotions that this man has in front of the soup. You can tell he's hungry. You can tell he's mourning for his child, and he definitely is lusting after that woman." And it's just very interesting that so much context from movies is just what drives, like, the actors don't have to project as much. The point of the movie is to lead us down that path even if the actor is not doing anything. I don't know, it's very very interesting. It's worth a watch if you're into the analysis of that kind of stuff. And I also added some things to my list that I had never heard of before, classic movie wise.
Ooh, what kind of stuff did you add to your list coming out of this? I'm
I
curious about that.
I was scared you were going to ask me that because the second I said it, I forgot. But it was much.
That's fine.
Yeah, no, it was like It's a Wonderful Life, which I've seen, but I mean like that era of black and white classic movies, some Citizen Kane, like those. And there were like two that I had not heard of. And I know I can go find my list somewhere, but yeah, it was like 19 early 19, who knows? Like the 1900s, you know?
Gotcha.
Now that we're in the 2000s. There were two though
But
that I'd never heard of.
way back in the
Mhm.
1900s. Yeah.
Yeah.
God
So yeah,
damn it.
it's great. It's such a I want to take that guy's classes. I immediately Googled him to see if there's online courses. And then I didn't actually follow through with like signing up or finding out if I can sign up. But God, it was really good. Okay. Next
What else you
one.
got in non horror?
Yeah, so another film that I found because of squelches. This one I was on a squelch hunt. Okay, you guys, I didn't expect to have to explain so much of this, but squelch hunt is when I'm like, okay, tonight I'm gonna go look up transcripts of different movies and look to see if they have any squelching subtitles. One of the four: the squelch, squelches, squelched, or squelching. And so then I go and I look and I do various things, and I'm a searching expert now at it. I'm not going to tell you my process because then you might steal it and you might try to beat me out for my very fucking weird hobby. But one of the movies that I came across was called Strawberry Mansion from 2021. I had never heard of this movie, but it has squelch about halfway through. So I went to watch it so that I could collect that squelch. And I am so happy I found this movie. I immediately added it to my list of movies that I want to have a physical copy of and put in my actual collection. If I had to compare it to something, I would say that it's very similar to Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. And I think that is such a unique movie that finding anything that compares to it is kind of a treat. It's about this guy who audits people's dreams because different dreams, different dream elements cost different amounts. And so he will go to your house and audit all of your recorded dreams to make sure that you sufficiently paid your taxes as you should have. And it's about him going to this woman's house and watching her dreams, and then some shenanigans happen, we'll just say. But it is so surreal and so beautiful and weird. It's as this man is traversing through dreams where anything can happen. It's just fantastic. There are some things that reminded me a lot of like Salvador Dali's work, where I was like, that's an interesting thing because it's a dreamlike atmosphere. Anything can happen. So Strawberry Mansion, fucking great. It's on Tubi. I watched a lot of Tubi this month, and I am just thrilled that I got to watch that one.
Sweet. I guess that's another one that I'm gonna have to add to my Tubi watch list. Tubi
Yeah.
just has been consistently fantastic. That's where we
Yeah.
found Soft Liquid Center, right?
Yep. Yep. That was Soft Liquid Center.
I need to go back and watch that one again too.
Yeah. I know you felt kind of mixed about it.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah, but it definitely left me with that. This might be worth a second glance.
yeah, I like those ones where you're like, I don't know right now, but usually that means it's a good movie. If you want to revisit it and solidify it, you just might not get it on the first viewing, like Late Night with the Devil, which I fucking loved the first time, and JD came around and was smart the second
I
time.
yeah, I man, I'm still blown away by what was all really going on there. Anyway,
Yeah.
you can go check out our episode about it. Well, no, not our episode about it, my Ghoul blog about it. Don't
Oh
listen to
yeah,
the episode. I
the
sound
Ghoul
like a
blog.
dummy.
The Ghoul
Read the
blog's
Ghoul
great.
blog.
It's a great. You can check out the
Ghoul
Ghoul
blog
blog on
at
WeWatchShutter.com.
wewatchshutter.com right there with the Squelch files.
Yeah. Go check out the Squelch Files. I'm very proud of them. They're categorized. I'm going to be adding another category, but that means I'm going to have to go through 1,300 images and decide what has to go in the new category. So I'm just waiting for a good day to do that. But now it's on my official to do list. So eventually there will be one where it's a dialogue squelch, where it was a spoken word, not just the description of a sound effect happening on screen, because I've started getting a lot of them, like you squelched my dreams, like somebody actually says that. And so I have to go put those in their own category. Anyway, my next one, also a Tubi watch. Like I said, lots of Tubi this month. I was getting caught up on some things. I'm not gonna say that this is a perfect movie, but it is a very small, very indie production from somebody who this is their first full length movie. I love that Tubi gives us access to this kind of stuff, and I just want to give a boost to it because I think what she did in this movie was very promising, and that she's one to keep on your radar. So, Reflect from 2023. It is five women going out to Sedona in the desert, and they do shadow work in order to get through traumatic things that have happened in the past. Very weird, very low budget, but it does a really good job with what it has. It's also sci-fi and comedy. I love sci-fi. Like sometimes I like sci-fi more than horror. I it does something because it can go places in this new, it can set up a new reality that we don't exist in, and I love that. I thought that there was a lot of strange but beautiful scenes. It's an interesting but bizarre story. I watched it near the beginning of the month, like June 2nd, like very, very early on. And after a couple of weeks, I was still thinking about it and decided it had to go on my movie recap because it was one that stuck with me despite, like, I didn't think that I loved it the first time. I'm still not sure that I loved it, but I did like it a lot more than I initially thought. So Dana Kippels, Kippel, I'm sorry, Kippel, probably. This is her first movie, and I really hope that she puts out some other stuff and that we get access to it via streaming sites like Tubi because I like this. It was very unique, and it was such a good first movie. Yeah, Reflect, 2023.
Reflect. Michelle's just been on a Tubi storm, it
I have.
seems.
I have.
Excellent. What else
Had
do
a
you
lot of
have in
this.
the non-horror, Michelle?
Last one. I don't know.
Woohoo!
I don't know if you've seen this one. I don't think you have. This is going to be controversial. Boy Kills World, the action
No,
movie.
I have not. No, I will not.
Okay. Stars Bill Skarsgård with a narrator of John H. Benjamin. I fucking love this movie. I don't know. I think it has a technically 2024 release date, and if it does, it's going on my top of 2024. Loved Boy Kills World. I know that that sounds kind of controversial because I have so many friends who fucking hate this movie. Here's the thing. It's absurd. It's action-packed. It's like Sucker Punch, which I also love in that I know what I'm getting into. It is a movie called Boy Kills World. There's a guy and he just wants to kill the world, and he does a pretty good job in his attempts. It is very gory. The story's fine. Like, I don't have complaints about it. I wasn't expecting Oscar worthy, like, oh my god, here's a dramatic endeavor. But it still was way better than I thought it would be. Alongside Bill Skarsgård, it stars Jessica Roth. She's the lady from Happy Death Day, which I adore her and everything I've ever seen her in. The
Her name
narrator
is
was
Tree.
the narrator was very funny, with John H. Benjamin just being this internal dialogue throughout the whole thing, and Bill Skarsgård
I
not saying anything. It's great.
isn't his name H. John Benjamin?
Oh my god, I think you're right. Oh no,
That's.
hang on.
I mean, hey, I was calling the dude Hawk the entire
It
episode
totally
when
is.
his.
What was I calling him? Bill H. Benjamin?
No, John H. Benjamin. You just flipped the
Oh,
H
okay.
and the
Thank
John
God.
around. Yeah. No,
Woo,
yeah. You
okay.
just had the order wrong. That's all.
Okay,
I
thank
mean, like I
God.
said,
I
I
was
mean,
like, way to call him
I
Bill.
I called a character the whole wrong name for our entire Devil's Bath episode. So
Yeah,
what can
at
I
least he was
say?
still an animal. But yeah, so H.
Right.
John Benjamin, who I think I've called him John H. Benjamin the entire time I've known who that man is. I don't think I've ever known that his first name was an initial. I watched a lot of his
Well,
stuff too. Home movie's fucking great, but I don't think I knew
to
it
be
was that way.
fair, as a general rule, somebody who uses a name where their first name is just an initial is not somebody that you probably want to interact with or who you're going to enjoy.
You know what? That's fair. Except for H. John Benjamin, he's the exception. So yeah,
Right,
Boy
he's the
Kills World.
exception that proves the rule.
If you just want absurd, gory action and a very, like, lots of very, very funny parts where I was actually laughing out loud, which, you don't do very often when you're by yourself. Well, I wasn't by myself. There was my husband beside me, but his participation in movies is to be desired. He laughed throughout all of In a Violent Nature. So that's how I feel about his opinion when we watch movies together. But Boy Kills World, it's great. I have to go figure out what the official release date was because if it's 2024, I'm putting it on my top 5 of the year. Great.
Top 5 already for sure, even with half the year left.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard. I really, really enjoyed this.
All
I
right.
really enjoyed it.
Fantastic.
Okay. I've got news next, so if you want to tell me some of your non-horror.
Yeah, this actually works out nicely because it dovetails into news. I just recently found out that the new Addams Family film Hellhole is going to be released on Shudder at the end of August. And y'all, if you've been with us for any amount of time at all, you're probably well aware how we feel about the Addams Family. Hellbender was great. Whether the Devil Roams is fantastic. But I have been talking for a long time about going back and watching all of their previous films, and I finally started doing it. And I started at the beginning. Their first film is it's called Rumble Strips. Their second film is called Knuckle Jack, and these are the two that I've seen so far. Rumble Strips, I believe Zelda was 7 and Lulu was 10, and it's basically those two and Toby just telling a story about a mom and her kids on a road trip because some things are going south in their family, and John does does all the photography and the directing. And then their second film, Knuckle Jack, is Toby behind the camera and Lulu for most of it, and the movie stars John and Zelda, who's now obviously a little bit older, and it's sort of the story. John plays her well-meaning fuck-up uncle who has to take her into his care for a while when her mom gets sick, and neither one of them is a horror film at all. Right, they're very frankly very charming family films. They're very dramatic. They're very much about family, and I really enjoyed both of them. They're certainly early efforts, and you can definitely see how they've evolved. But it's so interesting how their voice and their particular style, like with all of even in the very first film, they do a lot of those montage sequences that aren't just montages, but they're very much music video influenced montages. You know, there's the music playing and there's just something about the way they cut together and the way they play. And a lot of just very naturalistic presentation. I've loved both of them. I've got several more yet to see. I've got The Shoot and Halfway to Zen are the two next two, which are, again, also, as I understand it, not really horror films. Their first delving into horror was The Deeper You Dig, which will be the last one I see because it was the last one before Hellbender. But just overwhelmingly impressed by how much I'm loving even this early stuff that's not even a horror, because it's rare that I attach to anything that's not horrifying. You can take that however you want. My therapist does. But no, I'm having a lot of fun with that, and I really encourage everybody to go check out just anything at all by the Addams Family. So good. I cannot wait for Hellhole in August, which now dovetails into the news.
Okay. I didn't know if you were gonna reveal something that I didn't know if we could reveal yet. So you guys,
No.
there'll be something later. We can't talk about it yet, though.
No, that was just I mean, my piece of news was, Hellhole is coming August 27th on Shudder.
Yep. Nope. Exactly.
And now Michelle has more news.
I do have more news. Okay.
We
you
do
guys,
have more news. I'm so excited.
we do. Yeah. But that will. I don't think we can't. Oh, never mind. Okay.
No. Just
Yeah, okay.
Move on.
Okay, sounds good. Because then I was like, wait, I don't think we could talk about it. Okay. So, Hostel TV series is coming out, and I'm so excited. That's all. That should be my only. I love Hostel. Here's the thing. I went
know.
back and rewatched
You're
all
weird.
of them, and they're not as bad as I thought they were. They were movies that I couldn't actually watch, and now I'm just desensitized. I've watched people actually dying, and apparently, like, now I'm just like, whatever. Lady gets her eye cut off. Who cares?
I love that your standard in this case is not as bad as I thought they were, which implies they're still bad.
Oh, they're still very
they're
gory.
still bad.
Yeah, they're not Human Centipede 2, though. That's its own
Thank
thing.
God for that.
Yeah. Next one. These are just a lot of movie announcements that I heard about and I'm very excited for. 35th Street is the new movie coming out from Yeon Sang-ho, who wrote and directed, or co-wrote and directed Train to Busan, and also directed the Netflix series Parasite the Grey. Train to Busan is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. I also really enjoyed Parasite the Grey. Watched all of that during a nice weekend. So the next movie is going to be 35th Street. No, we do not have a release date yet. Why would you ask me that? I'm just excited about the announcement that there will be one in the future. That's good.
Sweet.
Next,
What other news do you have?
Heart Eyes. Heart Eyes is the newest movie directed by my bae, Josh Rubin. Those of you tuning in for the first time, I don't actually know Josh Rubin. I don't think he would enjoy my presence if I was around him. I just adore that man. I love Scare
Only
Me. I
one
watch
way
a
to
lot of
find out.
I watch a lot of clips from Dropout with him because now I know that he's on there. I've just become like a little bit of a fangirl. Anyway, the movie being directed by him is Heart Eyes. It's a slasher that takes place on Valentine's Day where this killer kills couples and he goes after these two people, but it turns out that they're just coworkers. They're not a couple. So he's picking up the wrong people to kill, and I don't know much more beyond that, but I am very, very excited. Josh Rubin is a delight. There are 3 writers who I don't know on the project, and I'm sure they're going to be fine. But Josh Rubin involved, and it stars Devon Sawa. I should have mentioned that first. And I love
Oh
Devon
shit.
Sawa. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's going to be really good.
I was dubious at first, and then you said Josh Rubin, and I was like, "Well, I'm in." You know, that's and
Yep.
then Devon Sawa on top of it. Yeah, I'll definitely be checking that out. Remind us the title one
Sweet.
more time.
Heart Eyes, like
Heart
cardiac
Eyes.
ophthalmology. Yeah.
All right, I gotcha.
Next, The Run. We are getting a new choose your own adventure style movie. And if I recall correctly, I think this was also coming out on Netflix. But it's going to be like their Black Mirror Bandersnatch and Escape the Undertaker movies, where as you were watching, you got to choose what happened and which scene you went to. I had a great time with both of those experiences. I'm looking forward to a new one. I don't know anything about The Run except that we're getting another interactive, and excited for that. Bandersnatch was definitely better than Escape the Undertaker. But I just love Black Mirror, so I'm hoping they go a little bit more in that style of unsettling sci-fi more than anything. The Run, though. The Run.
Yeah, I haven't seen or done either one of those choose your own adventure
Ooh.
type things that Netflix has done. Mostly because, look, to be completely honest, somewhere along the line, Netflix just, I mean, they became just another streaming service, and they didn't have a lot of content anymore that I cared about keeping up with, and so I haven't been fully attached to it. Also, that Undertaker New Day thing seems like it might be geared for an audience perhaps a little younger than me, but I
The
may
Escape
check it
the
out one of
Undertaker
these
one?
days. No, not Bandersnatch. The WWE
Yeah,
Undertaker and the
that's
New
what I
Day
asked.
one. Yeah,
New Day?
yeah. Those 3 dudes who are exploring the Undertaker's mansion are a 3-man tag team called the New Day.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
was
it's
confused.
Biggie
I forgot
Langston
that
and
part.
Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. Yeah.
I don't know any of those people. Okay, I just remembered them from the can you call it a movie? The interactive experience. So I completely forgot that they are
Yeah.
actual wrestlers too.
Yes.
Okay, well I'm excited for that. A couple more news things. We're gonna say the one that I I know how you're gonna feel about it. Okay, so this was a movie that was announced, directed by Parker Finn from Smile and Robert Pattinson, who we just talked about, i.e. the Batman, i.e. Edward Cullen, i.e. Cedric Diggory, and all the other people. They
Your
are making
goddamn farts!
we are getting a Possession remake. The movie that we just covered last month that you did not have positive things to say.
You know what's gonna happen now is this is gonna get a Shutter release, and I'm gonna have to fucking watch it. God damn
I
it!
hope so. I really hope so. I'm excited about it. I liked Possession. It was absurd. I hope they go more absurd with it. The Parker Finn has apparently not done stuff beyond Smile, really. So we're gonna see how he does with Possession.
I
Next big
feel
project.
like Sam Neill's performance in Possession was the inspiration for Tommy Wiseau's performance in The Room.
I hope so. It's great. I hope he
I'm,
inspires
but
everybody.
I do also want to point out that I have never actually seen The Room,
Oh my
except
God.
for a couple of small clips, like the thing where he's yelling about somebody called Mark, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't hit her, Mark, or some dumb shit.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know
did
what it
not.
was.
Well, hi, Mark. Yeah,
Oh, hi, Mark. Yeah, that's the one.
it's a great movie.
No, it's not. Okay,
It
maybe it
is.
is. I don't know. Who
I
am I
think
to
it was
say?
early into my relationship with my husband. I say fairly early. We've been together almost 10 years now, so for all I know, it was like year 7. But I had him watch The Room, and one of the greatest moments of my life was watching that man try to figure out if I was serious about whether this was a very good movie. And just watching his reaction to it, it was very good. I love The Room. Tommy
It's
Wiseau is a character.
it's no lost skeleton of Cadavra. I'll tell you that much.
No, no, Lost Skeleton Cadaver is great. Okay,
I,
next
more news.
we're getting a Nobody 2. Nobody 1 starring Bob Odenkirk was really, really great. We're getting a second one, and it is being created by Timo Gianto, the guy who had things in VHS 2, VHS 94. He did May the Devil Take You. He had a segment in the ABCs of Death. This new sequel is also going to star Bob Odenkirk, I believe, and I'm excited. I really enjoyed Nobody, and yet I heard nobody really talk about it. So we get that in 2025. Sounded like it was going to be a fall release. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, here's how much nobody talked about Nobody. As far as I know, this is the first time I've ever heard of Nobody.
Oh my god. So it stars Bob Odenkirk, and he's a
That's all I
guy.
need to know. I won't watch it.
Oh man.
I'm totally kidding.
Okay. Okay. Uh yeah,
Bob
it's a
Odenkirk is
guy.
fantastic.
I would say it's like the Big Lebowski but with a lot of fighting.
Okay.
If I
David
That's how
Cross
I'm
can
gonna
go
sum it
fuck
up.
himself, but Bob Odenkirk is rad.
Who can? Who'd you say?
David Cross.
Oh, is he in that?
No, it's Mr. Show with Bob and David.
Oh, I've never seen it. I've never heard of that. So you've never heard of Nobody. I've never heard of Mr. Show.
Mr. Show with Bob and David, one of the most critically acclaimed and popular comedy programs of all time.
Better than The Room? Probably not.
Jesus Christ. Do you
Okay.
have any more news, Michelle?
Yeah, one last news one. This doesn't even have an IMDb page yet, so I don't know a lot about it. This was just announced at Grimfest, which I don't think has the full lineup yet. That's coming in October. Side note, I did sign up for all the newsletters for all the major horror movie festivals that I could find. So now I'm going to be even more plugged into what's going on out there and movies I have to see. This one is called Amsterdam Alert. I know nothing except that it is Amsterdam is given a 30-minute countdown before there's a nuclear attack coming. And so people have to fucking deal with that. That's horrifying.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be fucking nuts.
Yeah, that sounds so scary. I don't need to know anything else about it. You sold me. That's a little too close to home. Yeah. That's it for my news.
You were talking just recently about getting film festival newsletters and such. I'm just checking here quickly because I want to see if Cannibal Mukbang is still available to watch as part of
It
that
is
one
not.
festival. It's
It
not.
is not. Nope. It ended.
Oh, it expired at the end of June. That's too bad. Well, I hope
Yep.
some of you got to see it, and you will get to see it soon. Well, I don't know about soon, but probably going to be
Again.
able to see it somewhere, sometime in the next year or so. Probably on Shudder. If that movie doesn't go to Shudder, I'm going to be shocked. It's so goddamn good. That's going on my top list of 2024 for sure, and that's one that like almost nobody has been able to see. But I feel so strongly about that movie. But anyway, what else,
Cannibal
Michelle? We're
mukbang.
like Cannibal Mukbang. Look for it. We are already an hour and 10 minutes into this episode. How many categories do we have left? Just books and video games?
Just books. We don't have a video games
Just
category.
books?
I throw those
Oh,
into
no video
whatever.
games today? No.
I didn't have any video games to add. No.
Okay.
There were a few, but like not anything that anybody cares about. I spent all of June playing Graveyard Keeper. So that was
Sweet.
my obsession. I had to keep a graveyard nice and clean. Okay,
All
should I
right.
go into literature? Did you have news?
Yes. No, I have no news. Here's where I'd like you to start, though, Michelle, because I have also read the entire run of Preacher. Please tell me what you thought of Garth Ennis's Preacher. Please.
Oh, it was awful. Hated it. No, I'm kidding. I'm so kidding. I actually had okay, let me try this again. I had mixed feelings about it. So my friend Mike just kind of said like, I have a lot of comics, here you go, start reading them. He keeps giving me more. So this stack is dangerously high and I'm very grateful for it. It's just like, oh my god, how am I going to consume
I'm
all this
also
media?
dangerously high.
Yeah, I know. So Preacher was what I started with because he also gave me Saga and The Boys, and I thought I would sandwich the Garth Ennis stuff on either side of Brian K. Vaughan. So started with Preacher, and it's great. I think book 4/5 gets very weird because he just fucks off to do something in a completely different town. And I'm trying to keep this very spoiler light for those unfamiliar, but he fucks off to do something completely unrelated to anything else that has come up so far. And then he just jumps right back into the story and continues book 6. And now we've got this huge climactic ending. And I thought, there is no way they are going to wrap up this story in a way that's satisfactory because I was just bored for so long in that little side story, side quest that he went on that had nothing to do with anything else, didn't even involve anything supernatural really. And then he comes back and oh my god, no, he ties up in this perfect little bow. I was happy with everybody's endings. I don't know how he did that. But I think if I could just completely cut out his side quest, it would have been a very, very, very good series. I just next time I read it, I'll probably just skip that part.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite character in Preacher?
Space or else Airstar. I loved
Oh, really?
Airstar. Loved Airstar.
I mean, Arseface obviously is a good choice.
Just
I
love it.
myself am very 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 fond of the Saint of Killers,
Oh,
which
of
first of all
course.
is just a fantastic name to begin with. The Saint of Killers. I really enjoyed that character a lot. But no,
Yeah.
it's especially for somebody who for a long time had just been reading like Marvel DC stuff like that. It was a real eye opener. That was one of my first. Like I read Preacher before I saw any Neil Gaiman stuff, any Alan Moore. Like Garth Ennis was my doorway into the more extreme stuff, and that was fucking
So cool.
rad.
Yeah, yeah. For anybody who hasn't read Preacher, go do it. It's fun. The end. He's the guy who made The Boys, or the original comics that The Boys are based off of.
It's
I know there are strong opinions about that. Um, I have comic book friends.
Preacher is available in what 6 volumes?
Yes, 6 volumes. I got the physical ones, and now that I know I like it, I'm gonna have to go buy the collection for myself to add to my bookcases.
Yeah, and I imagine there's got to be like an omnibus edition out there somewhere.
Yeah, probably, but I don't own it yet. Okay, that's all I have for literature. Should we go ahead and listen to your feelings about In a Violent Nature?
Yeah, so for those of you who just skipped right ahead, first of all, go back and listen to the rest of the episode, you jerks. No, I'm kidding. Listen to whatever you want to listen to. We don't do this for you. Yeah, so we did our spoiler-free thoughts on In a Violent Nature. We're going to talk about In a Violent Nature in a little bit more detail now. If you haven't seen it, it's available on VOD everywhere VOD is available. It's going to run you about $7-8 somewhere in that neighborhood. Michelle, do you want to do? Can I do a spoiler plot summary of this movie this time around?
You can. I just want to make it very clear to any listeners who are still here. We are going to spoil it. So if you
If
don't
you
want it
have
spoiled,
not, guys, a vague disclaimer is nobody's friend. I'm going to tell you everything that
yep,
happens in this movie.
yeah.
So
So
don't hold it
one
against
one more
me.
warning.
All right, here
Okay.
we go.
Okay. Go ahead.
Uh, so there's a necklace hanging on a pole in the woods, and some people take it, and the pole comes up out of the ground, and a Jason Voorhees looking killer crawls out of the ground, and then he starts walking, and he's walking, and he's walking. And then he comes across some people and he kills them. And then he's walking some more. And he's walking. And he's walking. Then he kills some more people. Then he's walking. And then he's walking. And then he's walking. And then he tries to kill this last person, but she gets away. And then he's not even in it for the last like 15 minutes of the movie. And she just drives off in a truck, and this lady in the truck has this weird monologue. And then it's over in a violent nature.
That sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah. Like, look, I 10 minutes into this film, so I saw it in the theater, and my friend Matt went with me. 10 minutes into this movie, I turned to him and I said, I am afraid I'm going to owe you an apology. Uh, I just being honest here, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, because again, clearly a ton of people have loved this film. I have no idea how. Like so much of it is probably an exaggeration, but I feel like if I were to sit down with a stopwatch and just timed how much of this movie is just this dude walking through the woods and nothing else happened, it'd be a solid 30 minutes of this film, a third of its running time. It's just a dude like I at least thought there were going to be he was going to be like actively stalking people, they'd be trying to build up some suspense from the other direction. Nothing. And I was so bored by everything that was happening in between the violence that the violence, like, we get to that sequence where he fucking folds that person inside of herself, or it was the yoga girl, right?
Yep.
Like the folded. We're gonna talk about their portrayal of that character as well. Fuck that. But like it did nothing because I was so detached that by the time I was like, oh, cool. The whole sequence where the dude's in the log splitter. Uh, if we're watching the kill, why would he split a log before he put the dude in the log splitter? If we're just
Fear.
watching what he did, no, it's not fear. The dude's not watching it. He split the log so that people
The
watching the
dude's
movie
watching
would
it.
know it was.
The
No, he's
dude was
not.
paralyzed.
He wasn't watching it. And then
It builds that tension. I think that showed that Johnny's just there
uh
to fuck people up mentally,
I
physically. He didn't just kill that guy as easily as he could have. He wanted to torture him.
I don't think that had anything to do with it at all. But regardless, yeah, I was just so profoundly bored by this movie that it was impossible to care about anything, and I have no idea how anybody. Please, Michelle, can you explain to me what you feel like all that footage of this dude just walking through the woods added to this movie?
Yeah. I will start by saying that I think there was too much of it. Or the alternative is I wish they had gone very extreme with it and it had been the runtime was one continuous shot. Instead,
I could
he would
deal with
walk.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
If it
he
had
could.
if that was the idea is this is a one take, we're just following this guy on a murder spree, then I get it. All right? I get it, but that's not what this is at all.
No. So the jump cuts were a little disappointing. I think I wasn't bored by it. So, and I can't tell you why I'm not bored by it. I just didn't feel that way. I didn't feel edge of my seat tension the whole time, but I did enjoy those parts where he is just walking and here's an example. Like the very first guy that he kills, he goes into this dude's house and has as he's walking towards him, he has zero concern about covering his tracks, about being quiet. He doesn't care if he's spotted. I thought all of that was done particularly well because he's just out in the open with no care whatsoever because he knows nothing is a threat to him, and he's just like openly in this guy's house, and the guy has a shotgun, and he's like, oh, I don't care, you're dead now. And I wish we had seen what happened to that guy because we saw an arm on top of a car later, but we didn't actually see him get brutalized. So those moments, like, I thought they were good enough that I didn't mind the walking as much. I do think it should have shaved off a half hour and had those be minimal, or else lean into the gimmick entirely and done just one person perspective, as was kind of advertised and was kind of the
Yeah.
advertising wasn't completely wrong, because it was from his perspective as opposed to like campers, but the way people made it sound was like this would be a first person account, and it wasn't. um
Well, and I guess yeah, that's the thing that I'd like to talk about because here's the thing is I don't know if it was specifically marketed that way by the people behind the movie or if that's just how the press started talking about it.
yep, I
Now,
don't know
there
either.
is always the idea that maybe it did start in the press, but maybe they were fed this idea in a promo pack or something. But that frustrated the shit out of me. And I get somebody mentioned when I asked about it on social media, like they were like, "Well, I don't think they're saying it's a first person perspective shot. They're just saying it follows the killer throughout the movie." Which
Hmm.
okay, I get. You could then just say it follows the killer for the entire movie rather than using language that creates an implication of something that it's not. But then on top of it, like there are entire giant chunks of this film that he's not even in, including the last 10 to 15 minutes of the movie. And I don't know, and it's probably because I was so bored by everything else that was going on and wasn't having a good time at all that I let that stuff bother me even more than maybe it should. But I feel like so much of this movie was sold on that idea, and even if it wasn't promoted that way specifically by the filmmakers or the producers, they let it be talked about that way. Nobody raised their hand and said, well, yes and no. And I felt like we all kind of got duped a little bit.
I didn't feel duped, but I guess when I heard from the perspective of the killer, I thought it fulfilled that for the most part. So I didn't mind that we occasionally took breaks. It was very similar to in a slasher movie, we could follow it from the victims' perspectives for most of it, and we'd occasionally swap over to seeing, Michael Myers lurking and his way of stalking into a house and being creepy. So it felt very similar in that this was mostly following this guy's perspective and then sometimes flip flopping. So I guess I'm just not bothered by the things that you were bothered by.
I was, and again, I think honestly the bit about the way the movie was presented, I'm maybe a little bit more upset about just because of the other things. But yeah, I just the movie is the darling of everybody's eye right now. It's got like I don't even know what the Rotten Tomatoes numbers are, but it seems like everybody and their drunk mother loves this movie.
Oh, they've definitely been
But
going down since it became
that was a
accessible
bad
on
joke, by
streaming.
the way. If your mother is having trouble with alcohol, please, try to do what you can. And I'm sorry I made a joke about alcoholism. That was dumb. Anyway, don't laugh at me,
Lady
Michelle.
getting
That was
folded in half by a
serious.
killer. Fair game. JD
Yeah, but
feels bad for
I'm,
a hypothetical maternal figure.
I, I made a joke about alcoholism. Is what I feel bad about,
That's fair.
Michelle.
And you
Anyway,
don't
so
have
that
to. You're
actually brings
okay.
me to a point about the yoga girl character in this film. like there is like in that first scene where we see the campers and they're all around the campfire telling the story, there's this whole situation where some of these dudes are trying to get this other dude to say the R word about people with special challenges. And the one girl is going out of her way to like make like talk about how like like you shouldn't do that and that's a terrible word, and they play it like this girl is just some sort of hypersensitive, woke, liberal, jokey person, and it just kind of pissed me off a little bit.
Oh, I
You
didn't get that
shouldn't say
vibe.
that word. You
No,
absolutely shouldn't say that word. And the idea that they chuckled at her and it was played in that sense just really kind of gave me some sour taste in my mouth. Now I got to wonder, about the people who made this movie and whether or not there's some sort of weird anti-woke people who think it's okay to
uh,
just say and do whatever you want.
I thought that was more so making us root for these people getting murdered. Like, none of those characters are particularly likable. And not only are they trying to trick their friend into saying something that he shouldn't, but they're also filming it so that they can put it on the internet afterwards and ruin his life. So, like, none of these people are particularly good people. And in
Right,
most
and that's
slashers, you have to have
that's my
somebody
point.
to root for to get murdered.
No, but my point is the one girl who's like, no, actually, you shouldn't say that word, not even as a joke, not even to get a video of somebody else saying it and putting it on the internet. She's played off as a fool, too. And that was my
She's
problem.
laughed at by the people who we're supposed to think are douchebags.
Yeah, but
And it did further.
she also suffers the most savagely brutal killing of the entire film, Michelle.
She's the star for that reason. I don't think she was murdered
I
because she was woke.
No, I'm not saying that's why she was murdered. What I'm saying is like there's a very clear interaction that makes it seem that like I don't know. I just didn't like the way that character was played off. I thought it was it gave me creepy vibes or gross vibes about the potential attitudes of the people who wrote this. I don't know.
It's fair. I thought they were
Now
trying
I'm
to
gonna
make all
get
those
all
people look like
whole
douchebags.
bunch. This is the nice thing about having a very humbly sized podcast is I'm definitely not going to have to deal with a sudden influx of dickhead emails because I had a problem with the way they portrayed the woke liberal character in a violent nature. They won't care that I said the movie is the most boring thing I've seen in years. I thought Skinamarink was less boring than this movie, for what it's worth.
Well, I
But
enjoyed
they'll
Skinamarink
get mad at me
overall.
because anyway. So that's in a
Well,
violent nature. I didn't like it at all. I feel like and I can't even blame the hype machine because I feel like even if the hype machine hadn't been so aggressive, if I still just happened to throw this movie on at any point whatsoever and take a look at it, whether there was any push or not, I would have felt the same way. So it's just definitive not for me. Summarize your thoughts, Michelle.
I don't have really much more to say outside of the spoiler free section. I knew this was going to be you kind of working your way into the point where you just get grumpy and frowny and don't want to talk anymore.
I know I needed to get that
Yeah,
out of my system, much like your
okay.
alive rant earlier. I
Yeah,
appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do that.
yeah.
I always want to. I have to reiterate so much that I know I'm in the minority here. I want people to understand I am not. I don't want to seem like I'm shit talking this movie. I'm just telling you my opinion. I will say I thought it was well made. The violence is pretty fucking gnarly. I do want to ask you why all of these movies like this one and Terrifier, why do they keep always putting their gnarliest, sickest kills in the middle of the movie? Like everything does have a little bit of a feeling of being anticlimactic after that thing where the girl gets yanked through her own chest cavity. Just like the girl in, I won't tell you about the thing in Terrifier in case you haven't seen it,
Yeah.
but that's just something I've noticed, and I'm like, guys, these are crowning moments you should be building up to. But
Uh
that's just me.
the girl getting bent in half wasn't even my favorite death. Goriest made me go like, haha, like I was very excited for it. But my favorite death was the lake one because I am terrified of lakes. I grew up in the land of 10,000 lakes, aka Minnesota, and over time I developed this immense fear of lakes. Despite swimming in them constantly growing up, it's just like I became more aware of things that were in the lake that I didn't want to touch me. I think it really started when this gigantic bloodsucker that was like a foot long, I swear to God, it was not a leech, it was a bloodsucker. They're different. And they're red, and it tried to attach itself to me, and I never wanted to go in a lake after that. And then I became very obsessed with like ocean life and started reading books about things in the ocean, and that made me even more afraid of lakes and rivers. So I think like I already have this intense fear of lakes despite growing up constantly swimming in them. And then the idea that first off, a lady swimming by herself, fuck no, never, no. I need a lifeguard. I need somebody to watch me because I am gonna have a panic attack and die and drown. Not in that order, probably drown and then die is most likely how it's gonna go down. So the idea of just like swimming by yourself and then just getting yoinked and then coming up once to yell and then you're yoinked again and now you just drown to death, like that's so scary. That I know not a lot of people have put that on like their deaths that they talk about. It's mostly the wood cutting and the yoga lady getting bent in half. I know that's what everybody else likes, but I have an intense irrational fear of lakes in particular. And so I think it fully further solidified that I don't ever want to go swimming in one. I don't want to go tubing. We have lots of friends who like tubing. Fuck that. No, thank you. Last time I went was like 11 years ago, and fish touched my feet, and I didn't like that. I do like fish. I don't want them having that much access to my body. I would like to greet the fish on my own terms, maybe look at them and say hello through a pane of glass while they are happy in their territory and I'm happy on my very dry, non-wet territory. So yeah, I guess this is just like that part made me so anxious. That how dare they? It was so scary. I think it's the only part that made me like truly feel fear. The rest of it was like, oh, this is a neat experience, and oh man, that's a pretty cool kill. But like the fucking lake, I knew when he just walked into the water and wasn't seen, I went, hell no. It's like, no, he's just gonna walk under the water until he gets to her foot, and then he's just gonna pull her down, and that's exactly what happened. So that was my favorite kill. It was very scary. That could happen.
Uh,
That could happen to
sure, I
anyone.
suppose it could. I
Somebody
suppose
could have
somebody could
scuba
just
gear.
walk all the way across the bottom of a lake bed, not
If you
drown,
had
and
scuba diving gear, yes, easily.
okay, fair enough.
This guy
I
just
do
got
want
away with
to.
it because he didn't need to breathe. But yet he was breathing later in
Oh,
the movie. I had a bone to pick with that, but
sure. I do want to say, guys, even though everybody knows this movie is going to be released on Shudder later this year, if you are able, rent it on VOD, buy it on the platforms if you do enjoy it. When horror movies that have a high profile get theatrical releases, go see as many of them as you can. I didn't get to see Immaculate earlier this year. I still haven't seen Cuckoo, and I feel terrible about both of them. I will not miss Longlegs. But you know, the more I can't say it enough. The more these things get supported in those channels of consumption, the more great stuff we're gonna get, and the more people on an independent level are gonna get more awesome opportunities. So pay for the fucking movie is what I'm trying to tell you.
you
If you're
can't
not
make
able to,
me.
I fully understand. You will get a chance to see it with your Shutter subscription eventually. But come on, if you've got an extra $7 kicking around, pay to see it.
I did. I already did.
I know you did.
Okay.
I know you
Yeah.
did, Michelle. All right,
Yeah.
I think that's about good for a Michelle in review. I guess you're Michelle and it's your review. So what do you think? Are you satisfied? Do you have anything else you would like to tell these fine people?
Well, to quote Hamilton, I will never be satisfied. But sure, I'm content.
Oh, fair enough. All right, guys. So we got more stuff coming up. We are finally this week, later this week, uh, doing Shutter doesn't have a new release, and so we are finally doing an episode I have been promising my buddy Jack that we were going to do since the very first Spooktober, because I stole the idea of releasing a new episode every day in October from Jack and his unfortunately now defunct podcast, Huntsville Home Video. They did that in their first year of their show, and I stole it, and he said, yeah, go ahead. You just have to review Dr. Giggles sometime. And so that's what we're doing. We're going back to, I want to say, 1992, 1993.
92.
Dr. Giggles. I've never seen it before. I've heard Jack and Leanne. No, I've never seen it. I've heard Jack and Leanne's review of it.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I promised him we would do Dr. Giggles, and so we're going to do Dr. Giggles. And then, of course, check out WeWatchShutter.com for the upcoming schedule. That's all I get. Yeah, and the Squelch Files and the Ghoul blog and all the cool shit.
Yeah. Okay. I'm good.
Are we good?
I'm spent.
Sweet.
I'm good.
Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.
For more horror content, visit WeWatchShutter.com, where you'll find our world-famous, patent-pending Ghoul blog and Squelch Files, as well as a schedule of upcoming episodes. Find us on social media at WeWatchShutter on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I guess Twitter if you're still doing that for whatever reason. You can email us. mail@WeWatchShutter.com is the address. mail@WeWatchShutter.com. You can even call and leave us a voicemail, 701-566-9510. No, really. 701-566-9510. Give it a shot. See what happens. We Watch Shutter is a production of Rat Factory Media.